There's a problem with Star Wars, but it doesn't have to be that way. Rebels, Resistance, Bad Batch, Visions, Tales of the Jedi, Young Jedi Adventures, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte. 14 shows in less than 10 years. More content isn't the solution. It might actually be part of the problem. So let's take a look at how to solve this problem, because I think the solution is actually quite obvious.
Force will be with you.
I love Star Wars. For as long as I can remember, I've watched the movies, I've read the books, I've played the video games, I've bought the board games, I've read the comics, everything Star Wars I have enjoyed. I want my kids to love Star Wars. I want future generations to get as much enjoyment and entertainment out of Star Wars as I have. But that's not happening. There's no love for Star Wars. In fact, we get to watch more Star Wars than ever before. And I think it's actually part of the problem, because more doesn't mean better. I know I'm in the minority, but I loved Andor.
And what do you sacrifice?
I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything!
A show that was deep and intriguing, looking at the very beginnings and birthings of this rebellion through the eyes of Cassian Andor. I loved every moment of it. I thought it was fantastic. Yet many Star Wars fans said they didn't like it, mainly because it didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like something different. It felt like it could have been any other sci-fi. It didn't need to be in the Star Wars universe. And to a point, I understand. I get it. I understand that it didn't involve the Skywalkers, that there weren't lightsabers, that there weren't force powers, that you didn't get cameos tied to the original trilogy that would make it feel like Star Wars, that the music was a little bit different, that the set was a little bit different feeling. But is that the only test of Star Wars, that it feels like Star Wars? Does Star Wars have to always have lightsaber fights? Does Star Wars always have to have a Skywalker connection? Does Star Wars always have to have the same droids again and again and again? Is that what Star Wars really is just about? Or is that just what many people have loved about Star Wars? See, I think Star Wars is much deeper. I think the universe is much more expansive. I think there's so much more to what makes Star Wars than just lightsabers and Skywalkers and droids. Though those are things I absolutely love, but that's not what made me really fall in love with Star Wars. I don't think that's what really made you fall in love with Star Wars. It was the characters, it was the stories, it was the emotion, it was getting tied into this other universe in a galaxy far, far away, but yet felt so close. Felt relatable, felt like there was something about it that just was, yes, natural, was part of your story too. I think that's what made Star Wars, and I would argue that's at the very core of Andor. Because you know what had all of those things? It had the lightsabers, it had the original trilogy characters and the ties to the Skywalkers and the music. The sequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy had all of those things. But yet, for most Star Wars fans, that fell flat because it was devoid of the real, true center of Star Wars. I think we can have both. I think we can have a Star Wars that's both honoring to what George Lucas has created and made in the universe, and at the same time have deep, intriguing storytelling that draws us into these characters with beautiful cinematics and amazing practical sets. I think we can have all of it. Let me give you an example, just a basic example of how the Obi-Wan Kenobi show did this extremely poorly, yet Andor mastered it. And it's something that can be in every single story, in every single movie, in every single TV show, and it's 3-act storytelling. Just the basic understanding of this setup, confrontation, payoff. You set something up, you build the tension, and then you bring it to a resolution where there's a payoff. Obi-Wan opened with Order 66. Right off the bat, we're picking up where we want to go. We want to see the storylines that come immediately following Order 66. What's happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi? What's going on with Luke and Leia? What's going on in the Star Wars universe in this time period? We're in it. We're set up. The Star Wars fans are there. We're there for a show about Obi-Wan. Now, put aside the shaky cam stuff. That was just awful. But just from a storytelling perspective, we're there in Order 66. And all of a sudden, right from Order 66, where are we taken? We're taken to the confrontation, the tension of the Inquisitors. That the Inquisitors are now hunting down Jedi. They're hunting down all of these Force users in the universe. And there's one in particular who wants to hunt down Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this is the confrontation. This is the tension. We wanted to see the tension be more built between Vader and Obi-Wan, and I think that's what they tried to do. Again, failed at that, but let's stick to this first storyline. So you have this confrontation being built up, but are we really afraid of the Inquisitors? Do they really do anything in this show to really build it up other than just them screaming at each other and screaming at the villagers?
Tell me where the Jedi is, or this man and his family die.
And chasing this Jedi who they can't really even catch. It's kind of weird and awkward how he gets away. The whole scene just kind of falls flat. I'm not afraid. I'm not fearful. And it just didn't work. And because it didn't work, we then get to the payoff, right? This confrontation is that they're trying to go get Obi-Wan, and the payoff isn't there. The resolution isn't there. They set up a storyline that never finds an end. Instead, they want to set up the storyline. They try to make the confrontation, instead of this seeking after Obi-Wan, they introduce another storyline, and that's where Leia comes in. And now Leia is the one that we need to be worried about. They set it up, and then she gets kidnapped in the most ridiculous way possible, in the most ridiculous chase scene ever, and it's already then taken us out of the whole thing. And what ends up happening? Leia gets taken, but there's no real concern. There's no real fear. Why? Because we know where the story goes. They're not creating something that really puts us on the edge of our seats. And what ends up happening? Obi-Wan saves her the first time, and then she gets taken again, and then Obi-Wan saves her again in the most ridiculous way possible. And it just isn't the payoff that we deserve as Star Wars fans. Now, you may not want to hear that, but I think it can be so much better. And I can give you one example, just one from Andor, that shows you can introduce characters in such a way that is intriguing and exciting and in depth, and then bring a crazy payoff that makes the audience go, wow. And that's great storytelling. So enter Kino Loy.
This is Unit 52D. Level 5, Room 2. The D is for day shift. 7 levels of factory, 7 rooms per level, 7 tables per room, 7 men each table. My name is Kino Loy. I'm the 52D unit manager. The 49 men in this room answer to me.
And it's in this introduction, we meet a prisoner who just wants to put his head down, to do his time, to keep production level at its peak so that he can get free.
Off program!
He doesn't want to escape. He doesn't want to cause waves. He just wants to keep his floor, his shift moving at optimal levels. He doesn't want to get shocked. He doesn't want any of that problem. He just wants to go forward. So there's the setup.
The point of this conversation is that you understand one thing most clearly. I have 249 days left of my sentence. I have a free hand in how I run this room. I'm used to seeing my room in the top 3 on the level. You will want to keep that happening. I'm sensing you understand.
But we start to see some of the kindness show as Kino shows compassion to Yuli, one of the older prisoners who's close to his time being done. But he doesn't give anything to Cassian. He's not telling him anything about the prison or the prisoners or the guards. He's giving no information. He wants Cassian just to watch the numbers go down, do his time, and move on. That is until a rumor starts circulating that an entire floor was fried because the secret the prison didn't want anyone to find out is being found out. That when your time goes out, you don't actually go free. You just get reassigned with a new sentence to a new floor.
Hold your program! Tighten up and listen! It's a rumor! Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. We have heard nothing. It's just another day, another shift. So let's keep our mouths shut, keep our heads down, until we know what's going on.
But that's it. It's just a rumor. It's just a rumor until Yuli dies. Until he has a stroke and the doctor has to come and has to try and help him. And when he gets there, he confirms the rumors. He confirms that the only way out is death. That exactly what happened on that other level is true.
What do you mean? Keep my men in line. What happened down on 2?
No one's getting out, are they?
Not now. Not after this.
That the sentences are all just made up. And we get possibly the best moment in the entire show because Kino has changed.
How many guards on each level?
Never more than 12.
The first glimmer of information that he's given to Andor, and it shows a massive shift. There is so much communicated in that one line of dialogue. Why? Because they built it up. They built it up. They set it up. They set it up. They set it up. And bam, now everything's different. Kino realizes he's never getting out. Kino realizes that this prison is death. Kino realizes that they have to do something. And now the whole show has shifted in that one line of dialogue. And what happens next? We see that it builds and builds and builds to the eventual prison escape, to the eventual moment where now Kino has to be the voice leading everyone.
My name is Kino Loy. I'm the day shift manager on level 5. I'm speaking to you from the command center on level 8. We are at this moment in control of the facility.
Is that the best you got?
How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now up to us. We have deactivated every floor in the facility. All the floors are cold. Wherever you are, right now, get up. Stop the work. Get out of your cells. Take charge and start climbing. They don't have enough guards, and they know it. If we wait until they figure that out, it'll be too late. We will never have a better chance than this. And I would rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want. We know they fried 100 men on level 2. We know that they are making up our sentences. As we go along, we know that no one outside here knows what's happening. And now we know that when they say we are being released, we are being transferred to some other prison to go and die. And that ends today. There is one way out. Right now. The building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who's lost. You get them moving and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we will be home in no time. One way out! One way out! One way out!
And it's in that monologue, it's in that moment over the loudspeakers of the prison where Kino takes the leadership. And it was this payoff that we've been waiting for, that we didn't know necessarily was coming, but now it's here. And it's even more than we expected, because in that moment, that's the moment that Andor was changed too. Cassian was influenced, and it's from that moment with Kino that the rest of the story changes. And so using Kino Loy to show the change of the main protagonist is genius. But that wasn't the end, because we find out that Kino isn't getting out.
We made it! What's wrong?
Can't swim.
What? What did he say?
Can't swim.
So this character's arc, who we just have in a few episodes, that began at the beginning of the prison sequences and ended at the end of the prison sequences, brought us so deeply emotionally into the show. It makes what Cassian now has to do even more. And that's just one example of storytelling in Andor. That exact setup, confrontation, and payoff happens again and again and again, in big arcs, in small arcs, across the different ways that the show was put together. And it's when you start to realize that you see the genius of the writing. And it's in that exact writing that we need in Star Wars. That's the solution. That's the solution to the problem. If we get character arcs like that, we are going to find ourselves on the right track. Instead, we don't get any of that. Instead, we just get cameo after cameo, nostalgia after nostalgia, member berry after member berry, appeasing the audience, thinking that's all we want, some flashy lightsaber battles, some good music, and that's it. I don't know about you, but I think Star Wars is a lot more than just those things. Thanks for watching this video. If I've earned your subscription and your like, please do that now. Hit the like button. And if you want more content just like this, subscribe to the channel. Guys, thanks for being here, and the Force will be with you always.